All right, welcome back to another video in the Better Life Blueprint program. We're going to talk a little bit more about the relationship pillar and how to develop and cultivate and nurture your relationships. And I think in this video, one thing I want to talk about that's extremely important that a lot of people dismiss is the idea of dressing for success. What do I mean by this? I tend to find that a lot of people neglect their personal appearance heavily. Many people I see, they almost sort of dress in a they dress too nonchalantly. They don't coordinate colors. They wear ill-fitting clothing. They just don't look they don't look as kempt as they could look. And I bring this up just because one thing that I think people tend to neglect or ignore, or some people just don't like it, but it's a reality of us as human beings, is that you are often judged by your appearance. And that's completely okay. People say don't judge a book by its cover. And to a degree, I do think that as people, it's not always good to just see somebody and automatically make conclusions about them. But when it comes to human beings, the reality is that we do make quick snap judgments, and that's how we are wired, that's how we're programmed, and that's how we stay alive for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's just a way that it's basically what kept us alive. It's evolution, and that's fine, but you need to understand that, and you need to use that to your advantage and understand that people will judge you based on your appearance, and you need to tailor your appearance so that way you create a positive, inviting, I don't want to say persona, but appearance for yourself. You need to look like the kind of person you want to be, as presentable as possible upon someone first meeting you. So hopefully that makes sense. And one thing I want to bring up is sort of this idea known as the halo effect. And so basically what the halo effect is, just briefly getting into it, is that people will attribute certain qualities about you based on the way you look. So for example, if you're walking around and you wear a very nice suit, people might assume that you're successful, that you might have money, that you take care of yourself, that you maybe take care of others. They might assume intelligence. They might assume positive qualities solely because you are dressed as the kind of person that would have those qualities. Now, of course, that doesn't mean those things are true. You can be wearing a suit and have no money in your account. You can be wearing a suit and be not very smart. You could be unintelligent. You could be mean. You could be many negative things, but the reality is that people will judge you based on what you look. And the opposite is also true. If you look very bummy, if you have dirty clothing, if you have very loose clothing, big clothing, if you look super scruffy all the time, if you have like long greasy hair or something like that, people will judge you. They might think you're dirty. They might think you are homeless. They'll attribute negative attributes to you, which of course you hopefully don't want. Quick story, and it's a funny story, but it's interesting. They used the halo effect they wanted to demonstrate just how powerful the halo effect is, and they kind of did this social experiment. And they had two people. One was a bodybuilder, and the other was sort of this just normal looking guy, but he looked homeless. And both of them basically did the exact same thing. The overall experiment was that both of them are kind of just out with a fake baby, and they ask random strangers for some money. And the claim is that, they didn't have their wallet, they needed money, and their baby was hungry. That's basically what the overall scenario came down to. The one person that was sort of a bodybuilder, dressed in very nice clothing, perfect fit, suit and tie, comes in, pulls up in a Lamborghini. Just to add to it, he gets out and he has this fake baby, and he's kind of waiting in front of the store. And he asks random strangers, "Can I borrow like $5 or $10?" And they ask him why, and he says, "I left my wallet at home. My baby's hungry, and it's too far for me to go back home, get my wallet, and come back." And many people, at least in the video, give him money, which should be interesting because he's obviously, at least based on the Lamborghini, his clothing, and his build, the way he presents himself, he has money. So he's not broke. He has money. He could go back home and get his own money. He can definitely afford to pay for the baby. But regardless, people still give him money. And Then there's the other person. The other person looks more or less average. He looks a bit homeless. He has a baby. I think in the video he has like a shopping cart instead of a car. And so he just looks by all means homeless, but he looks like he's trying to take care of his baby. Says the exact same thing. He says that he needs help. He doesn't have a lot of money and he's asking for a few bucks to help him get food for his baby. He gets the exact opposite reaction. Everyone gets pissed off at him. They get mad at him. They tell him to get a job. They tell him he's a deadbeat. Complete negative reaction compared to the first guy. And basically no one gives him money. So the whole purpose of the video was to just demonstrate how the halo effect works and how people respond based on the way you look. The one person, despite having money, or at least seemingly, at least in theory, he should have money. He has a Lamborghini. He's probably rich, at least based on the car alone. People still perceive him positively. Therefore, they're still willing to do things for him and they give him money. They attribute positive attributes to him and it makes them more willing to do things positive in return. The other guy, they attribute negative qualities, attributes to him. And because of that, they don't treat him positively. They treat him negatively. So I bring that up just because what it comes down to is the way they both dressed and presented themselves heavily impacted the way others perceive them. And the way others perceive them determined how they were able to move in the world. So I think that's just something really important to understand because a lot of people, I see them in daily life, they'll not put much effort into their appearance. And the same person might also be treated negatively. And they might not know why. They might say, oh, this person looked at me weird. Or this person was mean to me. Or this person didn't do A, B, and C. And a big part of it, the reality is you look negative. You don't look high quality. You don't look worthy of someone giving you positive. You don't look worthy of a positive interaction. And people will just treat you that way. I don't think they're doing it consciously. I think it's a lot of it's subconscious. But regardless, it's still the reality of the world. So I bring this up because I think an easy way to kind of foster good relationships with people is just to dress better. And it sounds so simple and it's so basic, but it's not, it doesn't need, I don't think it needs to be complicated. I think you can go to the store and just buy some nice clothing. It doesn't need to be expensive. You buy some nice clothing that fits well, buy some clothing that matches. Some people have extreme tastes in colors and patterns. I say avoid all that. Neutral colors, something that just fits well for your body type. That's really all you need to do. Just look more kempt. If you're a guy, shave. If you're a girl, maybe a little bit of makeup. Nothing too excessive. Have your hair looking decent. It doesn't need to be like super over the top. Like you don't need to be the kind of guy that gets a haircut every day or anything like that, or the kind of girl that gets like this extreme hair style every day or every other day, whatever. But I think looking decent is a good rule of thumb. One thing I like to think about, because several years ago I was in the opposite boat and I didn't care that much about my appearance. I didn't try to dress that well. I would just wear like baggy clothing or whatever I could find. I was very lazy about my outfits, and people definitely gave that energy back to me, if that makes sense. Like, because I didn't care, people definitely treated me in a certain way that reflected my indifference to my appearance. Once I started taking better care of my appearance, I think more people started to treat me more positively. Even if it was a random stranger, you'd be more likely to get a compliment, or people are more likely to do things for you. I think just because they perceive you as someone worthy of that interaction, of a positive interaction. Like I said, I think it's all subconscious. I don't think it's conscious, but it is the reality of the world. And I think it's important to keep that in mind and use it to your advantage. I had a buddy once, and he would say, dress as if you're meeting your future wife. And I thought that was kind of a interesting statement to make. If you're a dude, you should always dress 7 days a week as if you're about to meet your future wife. So basically, if you're walking down the street and you see a girl that looks attractive, or maybe she has the qualities of a future wife, would you rather look bummy, or would you rather look at least decent to get her attention? So I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. I think that's something interesting to keep in mind. But yeah, I would say an action step for this video: if you don't already dress somewhat well, get new clothes. Don't make it complicated. I would say if you really need a place, go to Target. Target's kind of a good go-to place. I find the quality of clothing to be pretty high quality for the price, pretty inexpensive. Everything, find your size, get some clothing that fits well. Stick to neutral colors if you don't know how to match patterns and colors well. If you don't understand which colors match with what. If you're a dude, a t-shirt, jeans, some nice shoes, that's really all you need. Same overall if you're a girl, maybe a nice dress, a nice shirt. That's really all it comes down to. If you need any help with that, let me know, and I'll recommend some outfits or some things I think are good for your gender or for your body type. But yeah, use the halo effect to your advantage. Get some nice clothing, look presentable, do that daily. Don't go over the top. Don't make it too difficult. Don't make it complicated, and don't break the bank doing that. And I think you'll notice a big improvement in your daily interactions and in your relationships in general.